right, welcome back to the Wallace branch, and we are following Waza here. Waza is taking our NP local along with the helper over to the other side of Lookout Pass, and this is an engine that unfortunately last episode I didn't realize had gotten stuck where the AI had, I don't want to say bugged out, but it had stopped performing its commands, so it was just sitting on the track down below there in the background, not doing anything. So he should be a little bit further along. We're not really in an especially big hurry with Waza, but he does need to get this reefer stretch out off the map, and so that is one of the objectives for this hour. Now, in terms of last session, we did complete 2 tasks, I think it's fair to say. We got the scrap cars loaded, we got the paper unloaded in Mullan, and we also started unloading the beer in Kellogg, and that beer was actually one of our urgent tasks for the day. So that's very good that we got that done. I think this is my first time seeing this scenic shot. I put down this when I created the route, but I have not gone through and looked at all the line side cameras on an actual run through before. Most of them, when I see them by accident as opposed to by design. Okay, now we are back with Alan Alda. And I think it's fair to say that Alan Alda really needs to do a run around here. The reason being that this just not going to fit onto the track at all. And if it doesn't fit onto the track, that means that this urgent task cannot be completed. So that is the priority for today. That along with the beer delivery. I think I could just actually leave these cars here like that, right? Okay, these switches look... Oh, that one's not good. So yeah, question of how to do this next. It seems to make sense to kind of sort this train out a little bit, like the hops, put that over on one of the sidings here, because that's not going to be coming with us. And Hunter, I believe the Hunter ore loads will be coming with us. So then to tackle them next, perhaps? Yeah, it's tempting to split up these locomotives. I mean, there's enough tasks to do. Could we actually have an extra crew on board? I don't think real railroads do that too much. You know, the lash up just stays lashed up. However many train moves are necessary is just the way it goes. Because railroads are not streaming.
Detector out.
That hot box detector at Lookout Pass is very useful for determining where the train is located. I played the Midwestern Rails one session, and it was interesting to see how there were a bunch of different hotbox detectors, which I didn't know there were so many different options for hotbox detectors. And I suspect the designer of that route intended them in a similar way, which is the different voice indicates a different branch line or something. Unfortunately, they were a little bit too loud. I couldn't handle the volume on them. So I really like the Midwestern Rails route, but the scenery is a little bit outdated. And then the other thing that was a little bit challenging for me is the knowledge that it represents the Midwest. But there are a number of reasonably large cities that are pretty close together that don't, obviously fictional cities. But one of them is like a port city, which is sort of strange for the Midwest. Obviously, the Midwest does have ports on the Great Lakes, but for me, it just didn't quite fit in that there were so many large cities as opposed to, switching out mostly towns and industries. That makes most sense, which is the majority of the route. So I still like it a lot, but just that one aspect of the cities and the slightly outdated texturing and overall design of the route. And I understand that the creator is considering revamping it, so I'm looking forward to seeing if that actually happens and giving it a try again sometime. All right, now we can mark this task as done. And I think that I actually do need to lengthen that unloading area a little bit. So yeah, if I just put these on the main line here, I think that'll be fine to get it out of the way. And I am not above sorting some cars into like the servicing track here. I figure that this gets used fairly rarely for actual locomotive servicing, so it can sometimes, in an extreme circumstance, double as a sorted car switching area. And I don't think that real railroads would have such a big problem as long as the cars weren't just being stored there. Oh, here I am running that switch. Again, derailment prevention rule. Why isn't it doing anything right now? I'm actually going forward, so maybe it's keyed only to the locomotive or something? So going head first with the rolling stock confuses it somehow. Seems like that should not be the case, but obviously there is something that I do not understand. So while it's tempting to leave these cars here and go handle the hunter tasks, I think that the need to do the general goods task first takes priority. I'm not going to couple with them because they're already working on unloading, and I think that could interrupt that unloading process. I'm reluctant to do anything that would have that result. Yeah, let's just hold you right there. Hold it right there. Okay, I'm going to save this. All right, this is Tasha Yar, and we're just continuing to load this sand train. And we still have plenty of space. I think we have plenty of space for the whole train. I keep checking it, though. Looks like this one has to be extended as well. I believe in general when we drop off beer at this particular location, we're going to be taking the reefers off the map. All right, here we are with Roger Moore. Roger Moore is at the Mammoth Mine, and I did check that the Mammoth Mine needed, I believe it was 18, yes, 18 total hoppers, of which 12 are supposed to be filled with lead. And of course we are on the lead track, because that's where we sent him to. And you know, I think that in general, usually it would work to navigate to an industry, but for some reason when we navigated to this industry, we stopped very far short, not even close to where it would need to get to actually start loading these cars. So let's see where we get to this time. And it might be actually smart to load from the rear so that we're always pushing downhill. We shall see. And not unlikely that the loading area is going to be very small. Yeah, one car max. We did get the first car, though. That's good. It takes 30 seconds, I believe, between cars that it would recognize them and start their loading process. And then the loading process for ore cars and for covered hoppers tends to be a minute or so, 2 minutes at the most. No, we are doing the second one quickly. All right. Now, even though they do load that quickly, we're not going to sit here and babysit it. Although it would be good to actually finish more tasks, because that's always a nice feeling of accomplishment. We like a feeling of accomplishment from time to time. Okay, we're back with our very long sand train. Smelterville Sand Pit, a fictional industry. And although this is quite a long sand train, in reality we actually need way more sand than this. So we're going to be back here, not too distant future. All right, so we have actually managed to unload our paper task, so that's good. Now all we have to do is pull her forward. And ideally, we would have only 2 cars spotted there. So I'm going to actually do that. I'm going to be very careful. I'm just going to drop 2. I'm going to decouple and continue forward. Just to be absolutely certain that we only get those 2 general goods cars filled. Okay, very good. And then time to jump back to... Do we have 2 Amy Yumis now? We do. That's really frustrating. I think it's something about saving the sessions. Okay, Roger Moore. Okay, we're back with Roger Moore, and Roger Moore has seemingly failed to fill up 1 car here in the center. How is that even possible? Did we just overshoot it slightly? I have noticed that as an ongoing issue with the MI2 track, that the location of the center here, the location of this indicator of the center of the MI2 is not necessarily where it will load. It's not necessarily where that will consider as the center. And as you can see, it doesn't seem to be loading this one. And if I had played this route many times before, perhaps it wouldn't be an issue. Perhaps I would just know where they're supposed to go. I like that this one is nice and perfectly centered. All right, perfect timing. We're back with Amy Yumi. And now there is no doubt that the beer task will have been completed. Tashiar is already done, so we're just going to continue with our 4 remaining cars. And we'll continue back to Mammoth Mine. But pretty soon we should be hearing that local coming over Lookout Pass. We should be hearing the hotbox detector going off, indicating that it's on the downslope. All right, back with Roger Moore. Roger Moore is not having any trouble pulling this train yet, even though we've got 4 loaded cars already. It should be on the order of 500 tons. Soon it will start to become an issue, though, I believe. Let's hold it here and see if this begins. Well, we don't have to actually sit and watch. We can just go immediately back, so let's do that. And looks like that car at the Mammoth Mine is loading. Yeah, the purpose of the MI2 is to make things a little bit more realistic, but in this situation, perhaps I have them set too aggressively, to load in 1 minute only, but I don't know. I feel like 10 minutes for each car means that it takes a whole day to load a train like this. I don't think that would be accurate either. So where are we going to go next? Okay, looks like Hank Williams is having trouble loading the train. And I think I had observed before that there might be some bug going on with this particular MI2 not loading. Okay, sand train progress 1 more iteration, then back to Amy Yumi, check and make sure everything is okay there. So accidentally moved her train an inch. It might have interrupted the loading process, I'm not sure. With our gondolas, now let's just check and make sure before I clear out that we don't need 4 gondolas of scrap. We do actually need 4 gondolas of scrap, so good. Perfectly positioned to load with scrap. All right, now Amy Yumi can progress up the task list here. Actually, in order to go to the BHS, which is our next destination here, we probably are going to be better off it's going to be much more direct to back up. And I think we're loading lead this time, but I'm not sure. So we better check that as well. So it's lead there and silver over here. Yes. Obviously, it's much more convenient to load lead, but yeah. We will make sure. Yes, we've been blocking the main intersection that connects the two parts of Kellogg for more than like an hour, I'd say. But, that's just the way it goes. Okay, we definitely want to have this switch going in this direction and this switch going straight. That will carry us correctly down our track here. And I see that it is now 2 o'clock, and that means we're starting to get into the time when I believe it was Frederick Remington, perhaps, who will be coming back onto the map with the GP38-2s coming from Plumber with our urgent task of fruit. Yes, we need to load this entire train with lead ore. Now, if you've watched my tutorial video, you might know that it is possible to arrange these tracks so that you can load or unload while moving. I do not believe that I have any of the loading tracks set to load while moving. I do only have the one or two unloading tracks that unload while moving. So unfortunately, this will have to be another industry that will have to be worked over a considerable length of time. But I think that for this train now, there is no hurry. There is no active need to move this train quickly. So we can easily leave this to the next session, whereas most of the other tasks that we have are urgent today tasks. We have to prioritize them absolutely now because we are getting very close to the end of the day. And now that we are here with this train by the smelter, there is absolutely no reason why we wouldn't allow somebody else to grab the caboose if that were absolutely necessary. Traveling between Kellogg and the adjacent smelter does not require a caboose, but other commutes between towns do generally require a caboose. Okay, I'm going to stop it there. Oh, interesting. So maybe it is a load while moving. Yeah, here again, it seems like we stopped short of where it needs to be, but see, it does actually load while moving. So I guess we might as well do it. But I would like the loading area to actually be inside the inside this shed here. Okay, well, we're going to load that one very quickly then. That's probably the way I would like to have it. Okay, sand train is ready to go. Which is exciting. Let's see how much the sand train weighs. 23, almost 2,400. That's no problem for these two GP9s. No problem as long as we don't have to go over a pass. And yes, half the train does have to go over the pass, but not all the train, so we can easily take it back and yeah, do a run around. Do a run around and get part of the train anyway. I heard a little noise, and there is our Cessna. I noticed in a couple sessions ago, the Cessna passed over, but I didn't notice it. I think that I always look for it when I pass by here, but in actuality, there was a time when I didn't look for it. Nice to see him in action. Get a nice little tracking shot here. All right. This train is going to be heading back to Osborne. And it certainly does take a while to accelerate when you're a train this heavy. Even in easy mode, they do handle those physics reasonably well, I think. Okay, while this is underway, I think we better go check on the BHS track. Even though it was only going at 1 mile an hour. Yes. We are fully loaded, I believe. Now, is it possible to back in there? I think the train is too long, isn't it? So what about putting you on autopilot and telling you to go to smelter? Smelter track 1? Smelter upper? I don't know. I don't know where that he's going to go. Sorry, she. Sometimes that little scroll window gets in the way of navigation. Go up here and pick up the caboose. Hopefully it will not do the horn again, but I'm pretty sure it will. Now, before we can do the runaround, of course, we have to be mindful that there's actually a train ahead of us now, which is that Amy Yumi is coming with that ore train to go up to the smelter. Should not be an issue, but it could be an issue. I do need to retag all these cars to indicate that they are going, some of them to the Silverton bottles, and the rest of them are going across to Haugen and de Borgia. Yep. Did we clear it? Ah, almost. I was 2 inches too close, perhaps. So sometimes signals and the track lengths can make it very difficult for trains to do runaround on AI, but I'm going to risk it this time. I haven't experimented with the route enough to know how good it will be or how bad it will be. I think that I've done it maybe in 1 or 2 places before. So something to keep on top of. Run around train. And then drive to Wallace UP Track 1. If that could be accomplished, it would be amazing. We'll check on Amy Yumi here. Aha, Amy Yumi. And then where is Amy Yumi headed? Amy Yumi is headed to Smelter Upper. Smelter Track 4. Ah, I see. Smelter Upper is there. So I think we want to make sure that you don't stop at Smelter Upper, but actually we should have a Smelter Upper, which would be more like up here by the sulfuric acid, but not that track, somewhere far enough along that it wouldn't be problematic. With Car Tagger, we can indicate that these reefers are leaving the map at Portal Plumber. And perhaps we could just indicate here that we're going to the smelter. Smelter or MI2. I'm surprised the ore MI2 actually has some ore there already. Just make sure this switch is okay. It is. And that one is wrong. How much weight do we have here? Okay. 2,900 tons, so this train actually cannot pull this length. Now, the way I'm thinking of it is that we primarily consider the weight when we're going up the long grades to Wallace from, let's say, Plumber, or when we're going over Lookout Pass. Obviously, that's the main point where we have to always maintain close eye on the weight. For these very short hills like this, I haven't been paying it enough attention. So yeah, it's a little bit of cheating there, unintentional cheating. I just didn't think of it. But yeah, we should know, there is no way we should be able to, and that is an indication that the locomotive physics on easy mode didn't accurately reflect the power on these locomotives. And I'm not sure if it might actually be the case that I haven't assigned the right locomotive engine spec for the GP9s. I wonder if it would actually say if I click on it. View details. Enable editing. Oh, engine default. GP9, F9, engine spec. Well, that seems very dangerous. It's something for me to test later on, I think. Okay, here's our runaround test. Since that is all on autopilot, I don't have to pay attention to it. We can watch it from the Big Tool Hardware Shop. This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill. And based on that statement, it looks like Tasha Yar is taking it very cautiously. It's probably fairly typical behavior for the AI runaround. But what is, see, this is what I was precisely looking for. Stopping and then restarting and potentially accelerating to 40 miles an hour and hitting it at rapid speed. That's what we don't like. This is still not going to be a derailment, though. Okay, well, we did recouple. So let's jet over to the other side of the map. All right, time to pick up the 2 general goods cars here. It's interesting that that car actually has a door open there. Don't know what's going on there. Actually, do all the cars have doors open? It's bizarre. I don't think I've ever seen that before. I think they're supposed to close automatically. I don't even think I can edit it this way. Information? No. Okay, well, whatever. The point is, the cars now have general goods, and I should have actually checked earlier to make sure the general goods had filled. But I did not do that. But as you may recall, picking up general goods here is one of the tasks that needs to be done today. So it's highly critical to get these cars. And, you know, I just left 2 cars there. It looks weird with the doors open. I'm going to have to see if that fixes itself when we reload the session later. But, yeah, so I just loaded those 2 cars, and I pulled away because I thought that they would load, but they didn't load, so I had to just go in and edit them forcefully. But I was sort of thinking along the lines of the multi-industry new, where if you just move the cars slightly, then they start with their next loading or unloading task. Whereas the multi-industry 2 actually does require that you fully exit the area somehow. Otherwise, the cars don't actually reset. It sort of treats it as if they're still engaged in their first. And you can actually set it to cars that load here will also unload here and vice versa. So I didn't do that, so that's part of the issue. Okay, let's decouple these. I think we want to actually pull him forward enough, yeah, so that he knows which track he's going on before we send him on his way to Wallace. And then when we pick up next time, it is 2:30. So when we pick up next time, it is pretty much assured that we will be beginning with the fruit train coming in from Plummer. And that will probably have a lot of extra boxcars because this route is seriously lacking in boxcars. But I think we got a lot done today. Let's check where Waza is. I think Waza is probably already on the other side of the pass now. Yeah. So yeah, I think we got a lot done with this session, and we should be able to throw up on screen how many tasks got completed, but I'm going to leave it there, and hope you guys have had a great time, and I hope to see you again next time. Well, there's the music, so as you probably guessed, that's all the time we have for today. Hope you enjoyed yourself, and we'll see you again next time on the Wallace Branch.